It's a round object, solid object. It was a creamy white, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it was, it's sort of, on the side, it's sort of got like a bit cut out, and it, just a sort of a tiny thing sticking out at the end of it. And because it had this light coming from it,
and that was very bright. And I thought, well, that's no helicopter or plane. You know, I thought it's a UFO. I remember just staying up, looking at it and thought, you know, it's just amazing what we'd seen.
just barely seconds, it seemed to be on us. And then next week, we sort of, this beam of light went back up into this smoke effect thing. And we sort of stood here, just gasped.
Well, I've known Carol and Helen ever since I've been here. That's nearly 11 years. And I've never known them to be late at all. Never.
Well, we walked up to work and we always waved to the security guard and we always checked to see what time it is.
When they arrive, I have to log them in on my duty, anybody that comes in fact. And they were over an hour late when I logged them in, so I noticed the time specifically, like.
All right, John.
When we looked that morning, there was no clock on that wall, none at all.
None at all. It was completely bare.
Maybe they're having it fixed then.
Well, this clock that's behind me, it's a master clock for all the factory. It's been here for donkey's years, even before I started work. And they swore this clock just wasn't there when they arrived.
Well, they came home in the morning, I've just got up myself. They come in, they was visibly shocked about something and asked them what was the matter. And they reckon they'd seen something. They couldn't quite explain what they'd seen.
They just seemed that shocked and said, explain, they've seen something. And we said, what have you seen? They're just something in the sky. And then they later said, we think it was a UFO. And
they've also, they appeared to have a glow about and they've seen slightly burn up, say radiation burning.
All the hair was wet, and Helen's coat was wet, wasn't it? And I said, look, what's your face? Your face is all
sunburn.
And then you looked down at the hands, all the parts of the body that wasn't covered was just like a very slight sunburn.
Yeah, well, when we come into the house, we're sort of excited telling everybody all about it, and that's when I sort of thought, fingers look sort of red, and as the day wore on, they sort of got redder. And then I looked at my neck, and I could see sort of a V sort of, like, all coloured in from there to there where the neck had been. And my hair, it was just sort of really tacky and, you know, sort of like I got loads of lacquer and I'd backcombed it. It just felt, you know, really sort of, really funny. And I couldn't run my fingers through it. It was sort of all bitter. And then you said about your jacket, I mean.
Yeah, well, I noticed that my jacket was wet and very sticky. It's the jacket I had on. And it was all across the back part and the shoulders, sort of like, as if it had been melted, like melting. It was very sticky and like on my arms. And yet that morning it wasn't raining at all, it was just a very clear morning.
So I said to my sister and my mother, well, try drawing what you've seen, and try drawing in a separate room. And see what happens, they both did, come back, exactly the same thing, they drew practically the same thing. That was the most astonishing thing.
This is what we saw, it's sort of a round object.
The spaceship, what we're seeing, was sort of like round.
Sort of going flat, more or less to the top of it, with this sort of a thing, just...
You know, sort of like a bit missing.
And then there was a beam of light, which come all the way down.
A torch shining.
And we sort of held each other in this beam of light.
I was standing here, and my mum was on the other side of me there, and we sort of held each other.
Got back into the moon.
They know something very, very strange had happened to them going to work, but it was something they couldn't account for, and of course it went into the back of their minds. Until one day they actually saw a newspaper article which referred to the alien abduction phenomenon, and they found that the things written in this newspaper were almost identical to what had occurred with them. As a result of this, they contacted me and told me what had occurred, what they remembered, and I interviewed them at length on this, and I was fairly happy in my own mind by what they told me. Things they couldn't possibly have known, that there seemed to be an alien abduction involved.
We was really nervous. In fact, we was really frightened of doing this regression. We heard so many strange stories, didn't we? I felt so emotional to think I was literally going up, and then next to me, I was sort of in this spacecraft, and it's just, I couldn't believe it myself, and I was thinking, I'm there. It's small, about 3 feet to 4.
Regression is a form of hypnosis where you go back in time so that an individual has had an experience in the past which they maybe have forgotten for whatever reason. You take them back to the time, and regressive hypnosis can actually bring back the memories of the things that have been forgotten. Tell me about the room.
It's white. It's so white. It's like it's round. I can see Helen. She's on a board. It's shaped like a table, like a school table. There's something on the ceiling. It looks like operating something which will come down. My eyes, they're looking into my eyes. It feels like a burning sensation in my eye. They look like grey people. I think more white than there was grey, like, and they're big almond eyes, very big, and you can hardly see a nose, but you know a nose was there, and a mouth. And sometimes the mouth was not there. And other times, you knew there's sort of a line. In fact, sometimes you can see like a only tiny red line there.
He's touching my face, touching my hair now, looking at my heart. They're looking at my eyes.
What basically is happening is people are being examined medically. They're having toenails removed, they're having hair removed, they're having skin samples removed. I think what impressed me most about this case is the fact that when they were under hypnosis at separate times, the stories, the graphic descriptions, the things that were done to them were absolutely identical. What they did to one person, they did to another person.
His skin feels wet. He's put his hand on my face. My face feels wet. It's cold. I'm in a dark room now. I've got my clothes on and my jacket. I call out then for my mum.
I'm happy I saw that UFO in the morning and sort of seeing that. It's just so fantastic. But the thought of being abducted, in a way I wish it hadn't happened, and I wish it wasn't us. Because people tend to think, yeah, she's, mad or...
Some people do think we're mad. We've heard people, you hear them say it, but we know we're not mad. We both was together that day and we know what we saw.
I was in the bathroom at 5:35 a.m. I looked out the window, which was only half open, and saw a brilliant blue-white light.
I too saw this light from my bedroom window. I sat on the edge of the bed waiting for an explosion, but nothing happened.
Could it have been a searchlight from a helicopter maybe quite a way up? I mean, we are on the flight path here.
No, definitely not. Because there's no noise, and we regularly hear helicopters, and they're very noisy. There's just no noise whatsoever.
We have quite a lot of police helicopters around here searching for the kids and that, and it's nothing like them.
It's simply because it was too, there was no noise.
It's too bright as well.
There was no noise, and it would just look like the moon. I'd never seen an helicopter shout to the moon before.
So exactly where did the light come from?
Come from directly above. I think it was higher than the flat, and it just comes straight down from above onto us both.
With some of the physical effects, the burns and the headaches and the nosebleeds, I wonder whether just the stress of seeing the light could have brought some of those on. Do you think they were just stress-related?
I don't think so, because we weren't stressed about it, because we thought it was so marvellous what we had saw. We just thought, look what we've saw. We've actually saw a UFO. And, I mean, we didn't even think of anything as being took away or anything. We just thought we just saw this bright light, and then we went to work.
This is where Helen and Carol work. When they arrived, they said they couldn't see the clock on the wall and had lost an hour of time. I think their earlier experience in the alleyway had left them confused and dazed. One of the impressive aspects of the case is that under aggression, you both came out with very similar stories. Do you think that maybe you discussed the case together before you regressed, or you'd read the same books or read the same articles, and that's why your stories were so similar?
No, because we didn't think we was...
Before we was going to be regressed, we was both very frightened about being regressed, and we didn't know what sorts of things you would probably see in the spaceship or anything like that. So we wouldn't know what to talk about together, about saying what tests they'd done or anything, because we didn't know, anything really about abductions then. We've read a lot about UFOs, but not abduction cases.
Plus we thought, because when we were at the alleyway, we heard a rustling sound before this bright light come, so we thought we was going down to be regressed to think that we saw something in the alleyway, what we shouldn't have saw. So we thought, well, I wonder what we did see. Was it going to be a green man or something really frightening? Will it frighten us? So the spaceship or anything like that was, I didn't even think about it.
We didn't think that would have been took up there.
No.
Now, some people think that hypnosis is a way of finding out true facts. Other people think that it gives people a sort of license just to fantasise and make things up. Did it feel, when you were saying these things, like a real memory, or did it feel like you might have been making them up?
No, I felt quite emotional really when you're sort of looking around the room and then you see like a sort of a grey being come to you. Sort of felt quite emotional. It was sort of like a bit of a shock, but yet sort of weren't so much frightened, just emotional.
And to think that had happened to you, you'd had them sort of tests done on you, that was sort of like frightening. To think that they could just take you and sort of do tests like that on you without you having to, you know, asking you first.
And it is quite a sort of fantastic sort of account in many ways. Do you really believe that this really did happen and that you were abducted by aliens aboard a spaceship?
Well, I don't think I'd want to make a story up like that because I wouldn't. I mean, I feel silly enough by saying it, so I don't think I would have said. I would have said nothing has happened because I would want to look stupid.
I think sometimes you feel a bit sort of, oh, is it true, or, you know, under hypnosis, it is happening to him. But I think you sort of think like that because you're frightened of what people might say when you do tell them, I've seen an alien, they might think, oh, she's a bit mad. I think that puts you off with you believing it fully because you're frightened of what people might think of you.